here's J.B. Biunno.
More than a dozen vehicles here at the Carlton Reserve here this Wednesday, October 6th, in the area where the manhunt for Brian Laundrie continues here in Florida. We're getting new information here as Eagle 8 HD flies live here over the scene of the law enforcement activity that is an uptick here in the search for Brian Laundrie. Hey there, folks. J.B. Biunno here with you live on WFLA Now. Great to have our audience here joining us. You can use hashtag HeyJB here, and we'll try to feature some of your comments here on screen. But we have just arrived here with Eagle 8 HD here a moment ago, and you can see here that this is way more activity than we have seen over the last week or so here at the Carlton Reserve. Let's bring in and let's check in with Eagle 8 HD's Paul Lamison. Hey there, Paul. This is a little bit different from what we saw on Monday and Tuesday especially.
Yeah, good afternoon to you guys. We're over the Carlton Reserve, kind of almost split in the middle from the Venice side and the Northport side, over on like a road that's cut through the reserve. We've seen a lot more cars than we've seen. In fact, there are 15 vehicles down here. There's a couple unmarked pickup trucks. There's two big white vans. There's some Northport police cars and some other stuff that we don't know what they are, a lot of unmarked vehicles. But again, this is the biggest contingency of the search we've seen in the past almost week. Every other time we've been down here, we either have not been able to find anyone, maybe found one or two people. The other day we were down, we found an airboat going through. Today is different. There are about 15 vehicles down here. And this white van you're looking at right in the center of your screen, we saw a van that looked just like this the other day, and what it was used for is when they were flying their drone. They were in the back of it flying the drone. They have like stuff, and by drones I don't mean like a drone that you would buy at a store or like a Mavic Pro or one that we fly for the news. This is almost looks like a big RC controlled plane, like a jet, and it can fly longer distances and it flies straight, and there's a bigger camera on it. And it's used more for mapping and trying to see larger areas. So we haven't seen the drone in the area, though. We've been looking. We're up plenty high enough. But this is the biggest sight we've seen. Now, we were tipped off to this by our photojournalist on the ground. He said he saw some Northport cars and stuff coming through here. So that's why we're over here. And this strikes us as kind of odd. This is a weird place to be. You're not just going to come out and search random places anymore. Now I think any search that we see are because of some kind of, maybe a dog hit on it, maybe they found something, maybe they just wanted to go back to a certain area and recheck it, and that's why they have all the people out here. But again, I'm going to move the camera in and show you this van. I can go in pretty tight. But again, they've been all focused around this van, and you can't really see in it, but there's a chair. There's a Northport officer going up to it, some unmarked people that are here as well. And from what I can tell, it's like a surveillance they're doing. We haven't really seen any other activity outside of this specific area right here. Oh, in fact, they're getting the drone out now. That's the drone. They haven't even launched it yet. See the big tail on it? They're going to get ready to launch the drone. Or maybe they brought it back in and they're going through the information that it collected. It's hard to tell. But again, that's why they're out here. We don't know the specifics, but usually when you have this many vehicles, to me it's odd. When we saw the drone van out here earlier, it was two other vehicles with it. But today we see a total of 15 vehicles out here, which is the biggest we've seen in this area in the past little while. And again, we're looking out into the Carlton Reserve and the big, vast 25,000 acres of it, and we're not seeing any other activity. This is really all that we've seen. We saw them blocking a roadway, and that's really all they've been doing. But again, this is the biggest contingency we've seen, and they're by the cars. They're kind of just out here. Not a lot of other activity other than car activity and people out here. But again, there's a Northport police vehicle. You see the side of it labeled Northport Police. This white van was used, we saw when they were flying the drone. We just saw them pull a drone out. and I didn't see where they took it to. They might have put it in the back, but we haven't seen it take off yet. In fact, wait, there it is. They're going back to the side. So again, we don't want to give too much information away, but again, we don't know a lot of information. So that's what we're dealing with. I'm going to move the camera and show you kind of just where they are out here. This is a wide area. This happens to be an access road and then another access road that goes further off into the reserve. We don't know where. The roads just basically go from point A to point B. And there's over here a little like electronic area because they have power out here and they have some stuff out here as well. But they're not focused around there. They're focused in this general V of the road, the cross street where the perpendicular meets. These cars are kind of odd out here. They're out blocking this access road as well. But again, we haven't seen any physical search of the area like we did the other day with the airboat. We haven't done a complete lap of the park, but we haven't really seen any activity in the park, which doesn't mean there isn't any. There very well could be. Now, where we are now, we're not really out in the middle. I'm going to show you. Here's where we are. I'm going to take it off 2x so you get a wider view. Now, if I move the camera up, over in this area, you see that's the main road that borders the south end of it. And then there's some scattered homes out here as well. So we're over out here in this area, right on this cross street. And again, JB, not a lot of activity other than the vehicles themselves out here. And we've seen this in the past when we've seen cars out here with not a lot of activity. So again, they have some kind of tip, some kind of something they want to check out. It's just we don't know what that something is. So we're over it and we're just really looking at it and using our deductive reasoning skills to figure out kind of what they're doing and just watch what they're doing. But right now, not a whole lot of anything other than standing around these vehicles. But again, 15 vehicles. We see 1, 2, 3, 4 marked Northport police cars. The other 11, I guess, yeah, that would be 15, are unmarked vehicles. So we don't know what they are. But again, we're just over this area, JB, watching, waiting, and seeing if we can figure out anything. But right now, not a lot of activity other than the vehicles out here. So JB, I'll move in and I'll show you this one more time. This is where they were controlling stuff. There's several people in that van. The other people were over in these vehicles. But again, you can see, just like I can see, not a lot of activity other than a lot of vehicles out in this particular spot. So JB, I'm going to throw it to you for now. And if you know anything, we'll stay up here and we're going to continue as we do our circles, seeing if we see any activity at this park. Right now, this is pretty much what we see. So JB, I'll throw it back to you, but I'll keep the mic open and I'll listen for you guys. Back to you.
Eagle 8 HD's Paul Lamison here for us at the Carlton Reserve. Paul, we'll check back in with you here in about 90 or so seconds. Let's pass along what we know right now here for our WFLA Now audience joining us here on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, as well as on Facebook and YouTube. To our audience here, we are going to be featuring your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyPaul comments and questions here, but I want to pass this along. We did, of course, our due diligence in checking with Josh Taylor, who is the public information officer spokesperson for the Northport Police Department, on exactly what this is here today, because again, as a reminder, this is considerably more activity than what we have seen here from our cameras, both on the ground and in the air. Considerably more activity today than we have seen really over the last week or so here. So about 14 vehicles, a drone that is about to go up here in the air. Is there new information that leads them to be here in this spot? We're trying to find out, but Josh Taylor just did respond here to our email, and it is quite frankly very similar to some of the emails that we have had from Josh Taylor over the last week, and there's only so much that he can say. The email reads as follows: FBI is lead agency in the search. We are assisting. So let's get to some of the comments and questions that are coming in here in the Facebook Live, YouTube Live comment section. Again, how this works here, folks, on WFLA Now, we do feature your comments here, interactive journalism here. We can feature your comments using hashtag AJB or hashtag HeyPaul. As you can see, Paul here zooming in here on the drone that is about to get airborne here. Yeah, Paul. Paul, it sounds like they are getting ready to launch, and perhaps you can describe for our audience here how you're going to monitor this launch here from where you are, and perhaps you can tell us what your altitude is here at this time.
Yeah, we're flying up well over 1,000 feet. A drone, by FAA guidelines, is only supposed to fly at 400 feet. And so we're just going to watch this. This is a different style drone. We've seen this drone fly several times over this area before, and we're coming around the trees. There it goes. And so what that is, that's just a bigger drone, and it'll just launch into a pattern, and it basically flies back and forth, back and forth. We'll follow it for a little while. Then it gets kind of hard to stay on it. But they monitor, and they can do different type stuff with it. And it's a drone because it's unmanned, but it does look like an airplane. And I've never seen one of these up close. This is really the closest I've seen it. And so this thing just flies back and forth. And they're flying probably about, I'll move the camera out, they're not flying super high. They're just above the trees. So we'll watch it, and it just goes over certain areas. Now, the difference with this and a regular drone can stop, hover, circle, and go up and down easier. This flies more true to an airplane, where it goes straight forward and faster than a regular drone, so it can cover a lot bigger area. And they usually, again, use drones like this for mapping and other things like that. But we're kind of watching it fly, but it's well below us. And so that's what they're doing. And again, they fly over areas, and it really can't stop and hover as far as I know. Now, I've never flown one of these. I do have my drone certificate that I can fly drones, and I do fly drones. But again, now it's far enough away where I've kind of lost where it went. But again, that's what the drone does, and I'm going to move back to the area where they were. And again, they're at this cross street. Now, where they monitor the drone from, like when I fly a drone, I have to remain with eyesight on the drone. They don't have to do that. They can drive and wait. The white van, now they're moving, and they can move with the drone, and that's kind of what they're doing. As the drone flies, they don't have to stay still. So now this vehicle, the drone vehicle that we showed you, is going to move, and it can move down to a certain area where they're going to stay. So that one's going. There's one more unmarked car going with them. The other vehicles are staying down at the site where we first saw them. So again, that drone will just continue almost in a grid pattern is what we call it, where if you take a piece of graph paper and you look at the lines on the graph paper, you would basically follow those lines back and forth to cover a specific area. And that's what it seems that they're doing. So I'm going to move and follow them because I think I saw one other vehicle with them. And sorry if you get seasick. This is kind of how we do it. I do see 3 cars. There's some other vehicles. So we're going to see where they go. We don't know where they're going. Again, we're doing just what you're doing when you follow us on the flight radar apps. We're just watching where they go. And this, again, is a very long roadway. I'll show you the road. They're driving on this. And it's a long road that just basically, it's along the power lines. They cut these so they can go through the power lines, easily take care of them. And they're just driving down the roadway. And again, this doesn't go anywhere particular except to the other end of the reserve. So you have 3 vehicles up in front. Then you have the other vehicles back a little bit. I don't even see them. But we're just kind of following where the vehicles go, see if it leads us anywhere. If not, we can go back to the same area. But eventually up here, they're going to run into some flooded roadway. So we'll watch that, see what happens. But again, we're just keeping an eye on the search. Again, it's a bigger search than what we've seen. Not to say they haven't been out here every day, because they very well could be out here every day. We just don't see them. Because again, like, they're looking for a small thing in this big area. So are we when we come down. So we're going to follow and see where they go. These are just 3 other vehicles. I think the drone truck stopped a little further back. But again, the roadway is starting to get a little more flooded up here. I think they can get through it. But again, this roadway goes right above these power lines, the transmission lines. And they drive, that's what they're out here for. And there's a little bridge they go over. But again, this area is so vast, and this is the one way they can get around it fairly easily. Up, now they're stopping. So they're going to stop in this area. And again, we don't know why or what they're doing, but we're looking. So again, they pulled over, JB. We don't know what for, and we don't see the drone truck anymore. I don't know if it's still coming this way, but they stopped out here. So again, just a different search area than what they've been doing in the past. So we're just monitoring and seeing what we see if anything strikes us out of the ordinary. And anytime we see vehicles out in this swampy area, we're going to watch and see what they're doing. Now this vehicle is moving on. Crossing the bridge. And again, this is where it gets deep, so I don't know if they're going to drive through that. But again, I was looking at this on the bridge. They're all going to go across. Hang on. JB, I'm going to go ahead and throw it back to you because we really don't know what's going on. We're just going to follow these vehicles, see if they can make it through the flooded area, and I'm going to check by email as I go through.
Paul, we'll follow your shot here. I will leave your microphone open. If I hear you speak, I'll be quiet and we'll listen in here. Your mic will be open here, and we'll follow your shot here from Eagle.
Okay, and JB, if you guys hear anything, let us know.
10-4, Paul. Back here with you live, everybody, on WFLA Now. We're going to leave Paul's mic open here, and you'll be able to hear it. It's open right now. So if Paul finds something here, or there's something here that he would like to point out to our audience, he'll speak. We'll go back here full screen, and we'll follow here from Eagle 8 HD. Again, Paul Lamson, the voice of Eagle 8 HD. Want to pass along some new information that we just got in here in the last hour or so to WFLA.com, the WFLA app. You can see this document here for yourself if you go over to WFLA.com or the WFLA app. You can also click on the link in the description on this video. It'll take you right over where you can read the same exact piece of information or the same exact document here that I received here in the last hour. Northport Police confirming to 8 on your side that an abandoned vehicle notice was placed on Brian Laundrie's Mustang on Tuesday, September 14th. It is heavily redacted here. You can see it's heavily redacted. It's got a lot of areas. The narrative itself is very much redacted. But it is a abandoned vehicle report for Brian Laundrie's Mustang, 6968 Reisterstown Road, Northport, Florida. And what is 6968 Reisterstown Road in Northport? That is right there at the edge of the of Myakka River State Park. It's right there, folks, as far as the entryway to Myakkahatchee. Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park. So that area. So that is where the vehicle exactly was found here. And we did get some answers here from police as far as exactly what that transpires to. The time, by the way, on that, the timestamp, 2:42 in the afternoon. And I want to read this here for you folks from WFLA.com. This is from Josh Taylor, Northport Police Public Information Officer. If the owner cannot be located, we make arrangements for removal by initiating the 5-day process. After 5 days has passed, if the vehicle is still present, an officer will have it towed. So that is the ordinance, Ordinance 4256, a local ordinance that pertains to abandoned vehicles here. So if you want to read more on that for yourself, it's on WFLA.com, and we'll, of course, update our timeline. In fact, I think that our WFLA.com timeline here with Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie, that is all now up to date. So if you want to know exactly how this factors in there, you can go find it for yourself right now on WFLA.com. If you're just joining us, J.B. Biunno here with you live, as well as Paul Lamison with an open mic here. We are listening in for what Paul finds here. But let's kind of talk about exactly how this got on our radar. We have, of course, had cameras here on the ground. Shout out to Justin Rogers. In fact, we can go live here, split screen for a moment, to show you that this is a live feed here on the right side of your screen, live from the Carlton Reserve, where Justin Rogers was stationed here, one of our photojournalists, and he noticed a considerable amount of police activity heading into Carlton Reserve. He sent over that video back to us here at WFLA.com, and then, of course, we mobilized Eagle 8 HD. Paul Lamison got in the air very quickly here and just arrived here on the scene about 25 or so minutes ago when we began our WFLA Now live stream here. So the activity that went in is the activity that you're now seeing here on the left side of your screen. So we'll hit the touch screen and go back here, and there's about roughly 14 vehicles here that have now split up. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them here now. You can see just how swampy, how wet this area is. But this is a roadway that, of course, that law enforcement vehicles are using here to kind of go through some of these swampy areas. But even there on the roadway, you can see a lot of water here as well, even though we haven't had all that much rainfall here over the last several days here in Sarasota County, Florida. So now we have two separate groups here. It appears a group of roughly 5 cars here, 5 vehicles here, and then we have another group of about 7 or so, or actually, excuse me, that's going to be 9 vehicles in the other group right now, but we don't have eyes on that group at the moment. But right now it appears that there's a split here in the law enforcement search for Brian Laundrie here, and there is Northport police vehicles and then a lot of unmarked vehicles here as well. So we can get this one here out of the way from Jenna Cheney, excuse me, hashtag J.B. Is this strictly Northport police searching or some FBI too? The FBI is leading this investigation. There's a lot of unmarked, most of the vehicles here are unmarked vehicles here. Of course, that leads you to believe that this is a lot of FBI vehicles here, but they are unmarked vehicles, and there are some marked Northport police vehicles here as well. So thanks to Jenna for the comment here. Amy Culver, hashtag HeyJB, lots of FBI, it appears. I hope they find him today. And yes, our commenters who have been with us here before on WFLA Now noting that if it's an unmarked vehicle, it's likely, of course, the FBI. Colleen Holly Saunders, hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyPaul, I hope and pray they find Brian, but sadly, I think he's left for another country. This is, of course, one of the many theories that have been circulating online here. There are just folks that believe that that Brian Laundrie is much more likely to be located internationally right now than he is here, at least not even just in the United States, but here in Florida. I've seen some people saying Brian Laundrie could be right under the noses of law enforcement right here in Florida, right here in Sarasota County. Others who believe that he's in Mexico or Canada or located internationally here. Of course, we don't know what the FBI knows. And the FBI, of course, has the most information pertaining to what they believe are the whereabouts of Brian Laundrie. But this is, one more time here, folks, I want to make this very, very clear. This is considerably more activity than we have seen in recent days. Now, it's a very vast area. 25,000 acres is Myakkahatchee and Carlton Reserve and the entire area.
JB, we're going to have to leave. We are going to need...
Come in again, Paul?
We're going to have to head back to Tampa, so we're going to have to leave so we can give you one more quick look at what they're doing.
Any chance, Paul, that you could circle back to the original spot here as well? I know that fuel is, of course, a precious resource. You don't have an unlimited supply of fuel, but Can we check in one more time with the other group as well in addition to this one?
Yeah, definitely. What these guys stopped here, and again, this big white van is the drone van. We've been looking for the drone. It's flying out in the wooded area. It's really tough to see where it's going and what they're monitoring. Now, where the other crew is, and we'll fly right over it because we have to go back kind of where we came from, is down this long, like, transmission line road. And when you get down to where it crosses right here, this is where they are. And again, what it strikes me as strange, the amount of vehicles they have out here, and the vehicles are just out here. We don't see the people out in the field searching. It's almost like, to me, JB, like they have something they want to recheck out. And maybe it's a good lead, maybe it's not, but they do have a lot of vehicles out here. Almost like a backup situation. They have the drone looking. We really didn't see anything in the area where the drone was flying. But again, this is what we're looking at, and this is the original area where the 15 cars were. The drone car and the other cars drove off. So again, that's where we've started, and I'm going to show you where the original area is that we start from usually. The command center, when the search was in full swing, is right over here. And that's where they were parking. And this road you see out there is the entranceway to the park. So we're kind of closer to the Venice side, but out in the middle off this transmission line, and I'll show you that as well. This is where the road continues. And what led us down here was they have the road blocked off with an unmarked vehicle. And there's a pickup truck with a trailer, which could mean we saw them mowing out here the other day. So that's where they are now. On the other side, they have a gate and they have the road closed. So JB, that's what we're doing out here. Again, we saw a lot of stuff, but we didn't see a lot of stuff. So again, it's a huge area, and for us to just stay over it would just take forever, and we wanted to give you those pictures and let everybody know what's going on with the search. But the search continues out in this vast area, and I'll give you one more look over to the east. That's basically what they're searching. This whole huge area out here. They'll continue to search that, and that's what they had the drone up. And once they have the drone, they'll have to bring it back and kind of download all the information out of it. And they'll watch the video to see if anything strikes them as out of the ordinary. And that's what they're doing. So JB, this is your look at the Carlton Reserve as we fly back north up towards Myakka State Park as we go. And that's the Myakka Reserve right up here. That's where they kind of meet together. And so that's kind of the northernmost boundary of what they've been searching. So JB, I'll go ahead and throw it back to you.
Paul Lamison for us in Eagle 8 HD. Paul, have a safe flight back to Tampa, and appreciate, of course, all the reporting and everything you're doing here from Eagle.
You guys have a good one, and follow me on Twitter. I'll have updates as they become available.
Eagle 8 HD's Paul Lamison here for us, folks, and just take a moment. Just look at this landscape here for a moment. It's vast, it's large, it's swampy, and it would take an enormous amount of time to comb through the entirety of the 25,000-acre reserve that is Carlton Reserve here in rural Sarasota County, Florida here, folks. Let's bring in, if we can, Josh Benson. Hey there, Josh. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Great to have you here. And what strikes you as far as this uptick in police activity here at the Carlton Reserve?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We've been out there every day for the last 3 weeks, and there's been some definite lulls in the search, especially over weekends, especially over the last few days. You know, it's been really focused in. It's been smaller. We saw an airboat with a dog out there day or two ago, and we have a Justin Rogers, our photojournalist out there, is always checking the gates to see, you know, what the latest is every morning. He said it's been quiet the last few days. So to see this uptick is pretty interesting. I see a drone was out there. I see law enforcement presence bigger than we've seen. So I think that's a positive sign. Maybe they're onto something here.
What we're going to do now here, folks, now that Eagle 8 HD has to return to Tampa to refuel, J.B. Biunno, Josh Benson here with you live. You can use hashtag HeyJosh, hashtag HeyJB, and we'll take some of your Facebook and YouTube comments here. And actually, we have some, I think, from Twitter here as well. So to our Twitter audience here as well, you can also tweet out hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyJosh, and we can feature your comments. But let's talk about that video, Josh. Let's actually show everybody that video here. This is from this morning here at, actually, I don't necessarily know if I have it in my system. I don't. But there is video that we have on WFLA.com of some of that activity this morning here. This is still live here from Eagle 8 HD. We'll see if we can get that video loaded in here shortly. But Josh, it was vehicles heading in. Actually, let's go here live to Carlton Reserve. This is live from outside Carlton Reserve. This is where we have seen several police vehicles here drive directly into the reserve here. In fact, this was where the original activity was this morning.
Yeah, and I think we did see some video. I think that's what you're putting up. We just saw different possible FBI vehicles. We saw the black SUVs go in. We saw local law enforcement. Like I mentioned, there was a drone involved. So, yeah, I think this is a positive sign. I think this is weeks on end of searching. And if they fine-tune a certain intelligence into one spot that they really want to check out and it's of interest, then they're going to probably bring in more resources, one can only imagine. So I think it's a positive step, and we just have to kind of watch to see what we learn. I know dogs have been busy out there. They have had a lot of canines, a lot of search dogs out there through the entirety of this search. So I think they're crucial aspects to this search to either catch a trail or to find some evidence or, you know, just hit on something specific that can help lead them in the right direction. Now, Paul, this is Paul. Is that live? Is he headed back?
Paul is heading back here, and in fact, we'll throw up Carlton Reserve here, and we're going to start taking your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyJosh questions and comments here. Let's take this one here from Twitter first. Let's start with Twitter. Hello to our Twitter audience here.
Yeah.
Linda Ferg on Twitter, hashtag HeyJB. If someone gives a tip to a reporter for any crime, is that reporter obligated to disclose the identity of the tipster to the FBI or police when passing that information on to them? This is an interesting question, and not one that I have seen asked our way before here, but what do we say here for Linda? As I understand it, so based on this hypothetical that Linda's asking here, if somebody gives a tip to us, and then we know that person's identity, but then the person is requesting to be anonymous, is that how you're reading this comment?
I think I'm reading it that way, and look, I think it all comes down to the nature of the lead, because I'm sure you have. I've received a ton of tips on Twitter giving specifics about, hey, they're in touch with Brian, they're talking, you know, so many things that are so far-fetched that they believe that they're actually hot on the trail and they're communicating with him. So first of all, you have to gauge whether or not that's reliable. And for people who just reach out randomly, we don't know your identity, we don't know your background. Like, we have to really justify if this is something even worthwhile to check into or not. So I think that's the first step. You have to gauge whether it's credible or not. Now, what happens if there's a situation, and I'm sure this has happened in the past, where there's a criminal case and a reporter's assigned to the case, and the suspect or perpetrator reaches out directly to that reporter and obviously has the proof. Now that gets to be a sticky area, because as a reporter, you have a right to keep sources anonymous and not report. You know, that's what's nice about being in the media. You can keep people protected to a certain level without divulging your sources. And it gets sticky when it comes to the law and what you should be turning over and what you must turn over. So in this situation, I would first start with the tip itself, the credibility of the tip, the person. We'd have to do a lot of work first before we can even determine if it's something worthwhile. And then I think it comes down to the journalist. If they turn that into the authorities, if they figure that that's definitely tied to the case and could change the nature of the case and close the case. But that's where it gets into a whole new realm of protection law, and it gets down a crazy road at that point. So,
and I think that too, to jump off of exactly what you said there, Josh, I think that there's a difference between a tip that you receive and a source that you develop. A source that you develop is somebody in an organization where there's a mutual level of trust there, an established relationship, versus a tip which just kind of comes in and is something random and sort of anonymous there. And so I have, of course, being a student of journalism, I have heard of so many stories where there is absolutely nothing that would ever compel a reporter or journalist to nothing, even an arrest, that nothing could come forward to convince a reporter or a journalist to disclose the identity of their sources. That's how much it's sometimes. And
look, reporters get arrested. They can be arrested as well, and they have been in the past for not divulging their sources. So.
Interesting question here from Linda. Let's take some more here with hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyJosh. CM. Is that CM Punk? No, just CM. CM on YouTube, hashtag HeyJB. Are there cameras around the area where the car was left? Okay, so just into WFLA.com, the abandoned vehicle report, 6968 Reisterstown Road in Northport, Florida. That is really the entrance to Myakkahatchee, to the Environmental Creek Trail there. Northport, Florida, 34291. The date on this document right now, just click on the link. It'll take you over to WFLA.com. You can read it for yourself. You can see this heavily redacted document here for yourself. See this black area here?
It's an ink waster.
That is, oh yeah. That's a lot of ink. And it's the entire narrative. And there was body-worn camera, body camera video here of this, according to this. But the entire narrative here, the description here of the abandoned vehicle report has been redacted here. But the vehicle was found, and it was Brian Laundrie's Ford Mustang. It was found September 14th, 2021 at 2:42 Eastern time in the afternoon. So that's interesting. But to the comment here, are there any cameras around the area where the car was left? And that's a very good question. I don't know if I have. Yeah, well, really, I guess here at this address. And you know what I'll do, if I can, and I'll just kind of do a Google Street View.
Yeah.
On this exact spot, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look around. I'm looking around. I can't show Google Street View on stream, but I can describe it here, and I will tell you that in this spot, at this spot, 6968 Reisterstown Road, Northport, Florida, there's no cameras around. However, there is a house right here. There's a house here, or a building here of some kind here at this, but I don't know if there's any. It's really hard to see if there's any surveillance cameras here at that.
And I just texted Justin, our photojournalist, who's spent a lot of time down there. He's been at the entrances of both sides of the park. He goes there every day to check, so he would have a pretty good indication. I just sent him a message to see if he's seen any cameras, even at the entrances, to know for sure if there is a possibility of having video there.
Yeah,
because I have not been to the reserve, so I don't know firsthand.
I just want to throw this one out there because this is a comment that is growing in traction on and listen,
really busy with that today.
Very busy, very busy on social media. Is this comment here from Linda Berg? Didn't we have a Linda Ferg? All right, so we had Linda Ferg on Twitter. Now we have Linda Berg on Facebook. Hashtag HeyJB. I wouldn't be surprised if he is still at his parents' house.
Wouldn't that be something?
And I've seen the video with the flower bed there, the garden bed in the backyard.
A lot of talk about the flower bed today. Just a ton of stuff about the flower bed.
So I just the light can reflect off of surfaces in a very funny way. I'm not discrediting anything that is seen in that video, but there might not be anything.
Yeah, just got to be cautious about seeing that video and thinking you maybe see a subject, or thinking you maybe see the mom grab something out of the garden.
Even if you have a garden tool and it's reflective, and
maybe there was a piece of paper and it was trash, pick it up. You know what I mean? It's hard to determine what, if anything, that could be anything.
Groundhog?
Could be a groundhog. They've been known to frequent flower beds.
Yeah, right. I'd have to throw it out there because people have gone so deep into this video and zoomed in so much, Josh, that I can see pixel boxes. I mean, that's how much they have zoomed in here.
And when you're at that point, it's like, there's nothing definitive to say, that's a shadow, or that's a person. So I think you got to be really careful.
Yes, but without question, Chris and Roberta Laundrie in drone video that has made it out on social media. Listen, they can't really go outside and go for a walk. So what they're doing is they're spending a lot of time in their backyard to get some fresh air. But yeah, they've pointed up, looked at the drones that have been flying over their property, and the airspace over your property isn't something necessarily that you own. So drones are there. They're legally allowed to be there unless there's a temporary flight restriction. And there are some people that are very, very very protective over the privacy of their backyards, especially, and think that that's a breach of privacy. But there have been drones in the air over the Laundrie home now for more than a week, and really there's been our helicopter that really hasn't flown over the house all that much in the last 2 weeks, but we were there, of course, originally when this news story was really focused on the initial report of Brian Laundrie's disappearance. But Linda, you're not alone.
Right, a lot of people talking about that today.
And yeah, Twitter kind of blew up today, people saying, what if he's actually in there? And let's not forget, and Josh and I believe we're on the stream together when they executed the search warrant there. They have been in the house. The FBI has been in the house multiple times now, really. But the search warrant being executed, all the belongings that were taken out of the house
and
here.
They have been in the camper too.
They have been in the camper as well. And that was. I mean, going back every now and again, you get a flare up on social media. Last week, Josh, it was, oh, he's in the camper. He's got to be in the camper. Have they looked in the camper? And then, of course, they went into the camper.
You couldn't bring him anything because everybody's watching, 24 hours a day. You couldn't bring him food. You couldn't bring him anything. So that would be a really tough. Hey, I got a text from Justin. He says at the Myakkahatchee area, there may be some cameras away from the parking lot, but none at the Venice side of the entrance to the reserve, as far as he knows. So, good to know that. I mean, as far as where the entrances are, the two that we kind of covered, doesn't sound like there's cameras.
Let's get to some more questions and comments here. You can use hashtag. We're going to go till, Josh, we're going to go into about 1:30, if that's all right. 1:30 sound good to you?
Yep.
So 1:30 Eastern time gives us about 20 or so minutes, folks, to answer your questions here live with hashtag #HeyJB, hashtag #HeyJosh. And again, the purpose of this, of course, we're always going to report here, fact for you here, folks. But the purpose of this, of course, as we look at some of the video from Eagle 8 HD. Actually, we don't have the video from Eagle 8 HD. We're going to have to stay here with this live feed here for you folks. But I'm not sure why we cannot load video up right now, but technical difficulties, but we'll get video kind of returned here. But we're going to stay rooted, of course, in the facts of this case, but we can also do our due diligence here. Again, interactive journalism here. We can feature some of your comments, help you separate fact from fiction. In today's day and age, you can go on TikTok, you can go on Reddit, you can go on Twitter. You can find all of these claims and landmines of misinformation and conspiracy theories. They're going to be very difficult to find out what is true, what isn't true, and what is somewhere in the gray area of where we just don't know. And that's what we're here to do.
A perfect example of that yesterday, JB, is I was looking at one of the text screens from the lawyer. They were going around like crazy yesterday because the lawyer was very active yesterday for the attorney for the Laundrie family, and somebody took it and actually photoshopped a message in from the attorney on one of these screenshots and started kicking that around. I mean, it was so blatantly silly.
But it goes to show that
some people thought it could have been legit, and that's what's really scary about that, is because it was so ridiculously written that, and you could tell the fonts were different and everything else, but some people thought that there could be a possibility that that was true. So you really got to be careful.
It shows that there are people out there willing to fabricate evidence.
Or they think they're just entertaining and being funny, but it's really not helping.
Yeah, it's not helping at all. In fact, it's doing the exact opposite. It's taking attention away from credible leads potentially. Let's take the next one here. This is a good one for you here. Hashtag #HeyJosh from Laura Turner. Do we know if they're search and rescue dogs or cadaver dogs?
I've been working on that question for a long time, Laura. I've really tried to figure that out. Reached out to the FBI specifically and directly, and they wouldn't answer that question. I've been talking to some search groups who I believe may have helped supply dogs, but I can't confirm that either. So it's really difficult to ascertain if they're using one or the other, or even both in this instance. But as far as I know from what some of the dog handlers are telling me, most of the times, or all the times, dogs aren't cross-trained to do both. I think they're either cadaver, and I could be wrong on that, but this is what they're telling me. It could either cadaver or they're live scent or specifically trained to what their specialty is. rare, if not ever, do you see a dog that's cross-trained. But that's the information I've gotten. But no, we haven't determined if what kind of dogs they're using in the search.
We
in the
do know
reserve.
species. I think bloodhounds and I believe
Well, black labs, German shepherds, bloodhounds, they all used for search. Cadaver dogs specifically, though. I mean, I don't know. I think any dog could be a cadaver dog, but there's probably specifics. I mean, you guys out there who handle dogs would know the answer to that.
How about Kim Wilkerson, #HJB? What's the pilot's name to follow him on Twitter? I believe the pilot is Mickey, but it's Paul Lamison who is on the microphone. He's on the headset. In fact, let's show you Paul. This is Paul. There he is. Isn't that a great looking headshot for Paul?
He just looks cool no matter where he goes.
Paul is the voice of reason in Eagle 8 HD.
So I'll give you his handle. It's at the number 8_PLAMISON. So at 8_P Lamison. And the title on it is Eagle 8 WFLA.
Eagle 8 HD.
He's doing great work. He's getting us a lot of views every day of what's going on.
A lot of hours over Carlton Reserve. Gina Hockman, #AJB. Did anything come of the sighting in the Appalachian Trail? This is hard to answer because there has been, of course, talking about the sighting. Josh, you did the interview with the gentleman who
Dennis
was
Davis.
Dennis Davis. 99.99% sure it was Brian Laundrie. There have been other potential rumored possible sightings there at the near the Appalachian Trail. Let's not forget how big the Appalachian Trail is.
Right.
It's like the longest trail in the country. It's absolutely massive. And so the question from Gina is, did anything come of it? Potential leads, but we don't know if the FBI is looking in that area.
I just texted Dennis to see if he was talking to the FBI because he was going to talk with him either yesterday or today. That was the plan when he had finally gotten in touch with him. I initially talked to him the other night, and when he had reported this, he obviously sent a tip to the FBI, but he also contacted local police where he was at. And they did send a unit out to check. And that didn't get back to him for quite a while, but a local unit went out there to check, obviously didn't find anything, but went back and let them know that they followed up on it. But getting in touch with the FBI has taken him a little bit longer, he says. So he said Tuesday or Wednesday, and I'll let you know if he responds, if he got the tip to them specifically in person.
Gina, thank you for your comment here.
Yeah, keep in mind, this is one of thousands of sightings. And, getting more today of different locations where he could be, people sending pictures. And some of them are pretty interesting. You look at them like, yeah, that could possibly be him. But it's like, unless there's more to it and they can really pinpoint something specific to the case that kind of aligns with the fact that this person was spotted, it's going to be hard to discern if it's really a legitimate lead or not.
Josh, I think that for just the purposes of illustrating to our audience, what we're going to do is we're going to shave your head. You can grow in your facial hair.
I can't grow a real good beard. It's going to take a real long time.
And then we can just prove how common it is to look like Brian Laundrie. Of course, Brian Laundrie being 23 years of age, but it just goes, again, folks, we've talked about this repeatedly on stream, and it's just such a common description. It's now people have pointed out to me, and I received tons of emails, Josh, over the last 72 hours from people as we talk about Brian Laundrie's description, asking us to talk more about some of the more super specific characteristics, things like, and I think when I look more at the pictures, and I have been looking at the pictures now for weeks, but when you really look for identifiable characteristics, the one that really stands out to me is that hairline. The hairline to me is interesting for somebody who is 23 years of age. It's just an interesting shape. It has receded. It's just not. Josh, you and I think we have of course our heads of hair, which is pretty. I would say pretty filled in, right?
Bushy.
Yeah, especially
bushy
mine.
and
I have
out of control for the most part.
Bushy head of hair over here on the left side of your screen, but Brian Laundrie does have a pretty far back receded hairline for a 23-year-old man.
Right.
So I think that that's really something that we can really hone in on and ask people to remember as far as, hey, like when you did have this potential sighting, this possible sighting, was there a chipped tooth? That's another thing. The teeth. Were the teeth a little bit crooked? What was the facial hair like? The receded hairline, was that there? These are some of the things that we can...
And the tattoos, things of that nature
on the hands.
On the hands. And what's interesting, too, is in the pictures... A lot of buzzing going on. The pictures from ABC's interview with Cassie Laundrie of the camping trip, he is standing there with, or we believe he's standing there with either a shirt or a bandana on his head. Now, immediately people were reaching out to me asking if Dennis, the guy who saw him, claimed he saw him at the Appalachian Trail, he mentioned he had head covering on as well. It wasn't the same color. We wanted to confirm if it was red or not, but he said a dark or black head covering. So, you know, that doesn't help the hairline identification, especially if he does it often. But it is interesting to see him wearing a head covering and then have somebody say that the person they had claimed to talk to was wearing one.
And the teeth, you know, he's got a smile, and that's also assuming he's not wearing a COVID mask. You know, these are things that are going to be really hard. That's why so many people were really honed in on those hand tattoos, the vines on, on both hands.
I mean, all you have to do is look at the guy's hands.
Yep, and when you're having a conversation with somebody, it's pretty normal to see their hands, especially if there's somebody who speaks with their hands a lot. I speak with my hands a lot. I'm always going like this, and people just speak with their hands quite a bit. So
that would be a quick way to identify somebody. Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll continue on here with more of your hashtag Hey JB, hashtag Hey Josh comments here. Jenny, going there with the first name on both the first and last name placement there on Facebook. Hashtag Hey JB, hashtag Hey Josh. If his parents are in touch with Brian, do you think the knowledge of his sister's recent interview may be the nudge he needs to reveal himself out of guilt for the stress he's causing his family? Jenny here in the UK. I have something to say about this, but Josh, do you want to?
I was just going to say, you know, the family, the Petitos and Schmitz went on Dr. Sorry, I'm blanking.
Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil, thank you, yesterday. And they all had calls for him to turn himself in. So there's that pressure of a national program with the family, who's in mourning, obviously, and very angry to say, turn yourself in. You know, you're a coward. They kept telling him he's a coward. So that's out there. In addition to that, you have the sister of the Laundrie family talking to the media now saying, you know, I would say, turn yourself in. So you're getting, if he's watching any of this somehow and he's following along, he's getting a lot of pressure now from all sides to say, turn yourself on. And I think turn yourself in. And I think what's important to note is, we talked about this before, is the mental anguish that goes on for somebody who may be on the run in this case. If you're on the run and you know the stress that's coming right behind you at every turn, and knowing that you can't make a mistake, you can't make a phone call, you can't use an ATM, you can't show up on a video camera or a Ring doorbell camera, that's going to start weighing on you very, very much so mentally.
You're running out of places to go.
And not even that, just how much mental load can you take before you crack or before you say that's it? Because a lot of times when people are on the run, or if it's a cold case, we've even had these that we've covered at WFLA recently, and they get caught. They're relieved to have gotten caught because they've been carrying the stress with them so long. At least, yeah, they're caught, but at least they can get rid of that stress knowing that, hey, I don't have to think and worry about this anymore. Yeah, I'm going to go sit in prison, but I think sometimes the mental anguish is worse than the physical punishment.
And there's a lot of assuming that's going on here with this question from Jenny, and hello to our UK audience. I know we have a lot of folks that join us from across the Atlantic, and there's a lot of assuming that can go on with a question like this. First and foremost, we don't know if Brian Laundrie is alive. And if he is alive, we don't know what kind of access he has to news broadcasts. We don't know if he does have access to the internet or to television, or does he have a radio that he could be carrying around with him. I think that people forget that, you know, that if he doesn't have, if he has a very primitive phone that doesn't have access to the internet, you know, like an iPhone or a smartphone would, does he have access to a radio where he can listen to AM frequencies and get news broadcasts that way? You know, that's not something that's really been discussed all that much. And then, of course, where is he located, and what access would he have to radio stations or to just the press in general? So there's a lot of assuming going on. But I will say this specifically to Jenny's comment here. Let's not forget that there was an age gap of about 9 or so years between Cassie Laundrie and Brian Laundrie. Right. And if it's impossible to say without knowing this family, and we really just don't know the intricacies of this family. We're getting more insight, but we just don't know the intricacies of the family itself and the history there. But did Brian, at this stage, see Cassie Laundrie's interview or see the Dr. Phil television broadcast and think, okay, I guess this is it. I should just turn myself in now? I think there's folks that are going to think that way and try to be, you know, optimistic that somebody would do that and do the right thing and turn themselves in.
Right.
But
Probably highly unlikely, because look, you know that everybody's looking for you, and it all comes down to if you're guilty. And if this person knows he's guilty, then you got some serious punishment likely coming your way. So I think that all weighs into it on somebody who would be on there. And I've never been on the run. We don't know what the feeling is, but I can't imagine it's pleasant.
Let's go to YouTube. Brad Weissman on YouTube. Hello to Brad, and hello to everybody in our YouTube audience. You guys are great. Hashtag AJB, hashtag Josh. I saw that Brian actually vanished a day earlier than the parents first reported. I was wondering what your thoughts on that are. So on WFLA.com yesterday, of course, we reported, and you can read it for yourself right now on WFLA.com, that the timeline has changed here, and I'll read this directly from WFLA.com. Attorney Stephen Bertolino, that's Brian Laundrie's attorney, also representing the parents, texting WFLA on Tuesday to confirm that the Laundries now believe that their son, Brian Laundrie, left home to go hiking on Monday, September 13th, rather than what they had originally said, Tuesday, September 14th, and that reads here as follows. The Laundries were basing the date Brian left on their recollection of certain events. Upon further communication with the FBI and confirmation of the Mustang being at the Laundrie residence on Wednesday, September 15th, we now believe the day Brian left to hike in the preserve was Monday, September 13th. Okay, that allows us now, and Brad bringing this up here allows us to circle back into the new developments here today, which is the abandoned vehicle report that we obtained from Northport Police. While it is heavily redacted, it does include a timestamp on it, that timestamp being September 14th at 2:42 in the afternoon here at 6968 Reisterstown Road in Northport, Florida. That ordinance being 4256, that ordinance of an unoccupied vehicle, an abandoned vehicle that was left there. So let's kind of break this down. They had previously told the Laundrie parents, Chris and Roberta, previously had said that that he had left the home on Tuesday, September 14th,
right,
which is the same date as this here, as the abandoned vehicle.
Right.
And then they kind of, okay, so based on, actually, when we really think about it now, it was actually a day earlier. It was on the 13th here. And there have been people that have been online speculating, is this report now being a public record? Is this coming out now attached to Stephen Bertolino kind of, receiving information from his clientele here that the date is now 24 hours earlier? Are the two here connected in any which way?
Yeah, I don't know that. I think
I don't think anybody knows.
I think the important part of it, though, is to help refine the timeline. I think what we're here for is trying to nail down the most accurate timeline we can get to help provide answers, because an accurate timeline is going to give you the best answers you can get. Because right now, things have been flying. Oh, it's this date. He bought a phone on the 14th. He bought a phone on the 4th. We're seeing so many different dates come in, and then changes to that. Ironically, from the attorney, we're getting some dates changed because we're pushing to get some answers. But if that's the case, and we take that as official word, that does change a lot of things. It does change a lot of things in the timeline, and now suddenly that's an extra day. That's an extra day, and where he could have gone. That's an extra day to
cover a lot of ground in a day.
Oh, sure,
a lot
Where
of ground.
Where could you be right now in a day if you started traveling? You could be
in a car.
Yeah, 24 hours. You could be to what? Colorado? Maybe not.
Well,
I don't know. I'm just saying.
I remember a couple of weeks ago we were on stream. We were talking about, if you really, I'm talking a 6-pack of Red Bull or Monster Energy drink. If you were booking it and you were like just stopping for gas and to grab a sandwich, if you were like gunning it, you could probably make it to Canada in a day.
Probably don't want to gun it. Might get pulled over.
That's exactly what the point we brought up, though, on stream was that you don't want to attract police attention. You don't want to be doing 95 on the interstate.
Right.
So,
but you could get far, and so I think that's important, because it really refines the timeline for everybody to help kind of understand where we're at.
Appreciate the comment here from Brad here, and let's.
Is this live, by the way? This video?
This is This
We've
is
been
live
the whole time, right?
This is live still.
Yeah. This is Justin.
That's Justin.
Okay, good.
We'll
the mailman was there. It's funny just watching everyday life just outside of the reserve. I don't know who that is.
Not sure either.
She's got paperwork.
Let's continue. We have only 5 more minutes here. Let's kind of go rapid fire.
Fast.
Yeah, it goes fast. Brandy Cooper, hashtag AJB, hashtag Josh. Do you think if Brian Laundrie was connected to the double murder in Moab, would they tell us or keep it a secret This has been out now for weeks.
Yeah, a lot of people starting to talk about that now.
They eliminated any potential connection between the double homicide in Moab and Brian Laundrie. They have ruled that out. The sheriff's office there issuing that statement weeks ago.
And I think people have brought that back. That was an initial discussion, but now even recently, as the last few days, people are trying to make that connection. So according to them, it's not a connection we can make.
Another flare-up. Yeah, we see a lot of flare-ups on social.
Well, and look, that's what happens when the case slows down a little bit. The search slows down. There's no, we don't have a ton of developments. We don't have a lot of things we can tell you. And that's frustrating because people want to see progress. And the FBI works quietly, they work diligently, they work behind the scenes, and they don't release any information for the most part. So while things are quiet, they're definitely back in that reserve or back investigating or doing search warrants, whatever it is that they're doing, and trying to make progress.
Brian Cousin, #AJB, #Josh. Do we know if they are searching the Appalachian Trail after tips started coming in from there? And Brian, we just kind of addressed this. The FBI isn't going to telegraph to the world, why would they, that they're searching the Appalachian Trail. It's very possible that they are, but they're not. You have to navigate this under the possibility that Brian Laundrie has access to the internet, and if he does, you wouldn't telegraph to the world that you're searching there. So we don't know if they're searching, and the FBI if they pulled up to the Appalachian Trail, they're not going to do so in a marked vehicle or with a marked uniform. So it's impossible to say. It's very possible that they are looking in that area, and it's also extremely possible that they have evidence that keeps them honed in right here to the Carlton Reserve here in Sarasota County. Tanya Thomas, #AJB. What about Cuba? It would be easy for him to go there. They would let him in. Okay, folks. Have you ever been south of the Florida Keys just for fishing? It's 90 miles from Florida to Cuba. That's not something you do in a kayak. And people who are saying, oh, it'd be so easy to just go over to Cuba. 90 miles by water sounds to some short.
How do you get there?
Yeah,
you're not going to take a canoe.
So again, does he have? Is there a boat
That's and you got that. Then that brings in the question: is who's helping him? Because if a lot of people think that this could happen, it could happen if you had some help, and that's the next big piece of this is there any help, and is anybody helping him? And if that's the case, boy, they're going to be looking for a few people. So you would need. I don't think you could pull something like that off personally by yourself, unless you had resources. And if you're quickly trying to get stuff together to get on the run, you don't have time to make appointments and plan out your escape very well. I don't know. At least that's what I think.
Gina Prophet, #AJB, #Josh. Do we know if Brian is armed? He would need to feed and protect himself while in the wilderness. We don't know if Brian Laundrie is armed.
Do not know.
This has been a question that's been asked several times. We don't know the answer to that question. Carla Rickafort, #AJB. Do you know what Brian purchased when he used Gabby's card?
No, I think we asked that, didn't we? And
let me just make this very, very clear. I know that we have to stay rooted in fact. There's nothing in the indictment, there's nothing in the federal arrest warrant that says it's Gabby Petito's card. So I have to make that very perfectly clear here first. It's, of course...
They were very specific. It was just a card.
It was just a Capital One debit card connected to 2 bank accounts ending in 0525 and 8665, and I have to be responsible here and staying in fact. So there's a lot of folks, of course. I think a vast majority of people that just say it's Gabby's card, and I just want to throw that out there.
And I think Walt reached out to the FBI asking if it was all used in one fell swoop or if it was several charges in several areas, and he didn't get an answer on that. But we don't know the spending and how the spending played out.
Yeah, and do we know it was charges aggregating to a value of $1,000 or more? I mean, that's all we really know. Yep. We'll end out here with a couple from YouTube. Again, hello to YouTube, hello to Facebook, hello to everybody watching on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. FJ Farms on YouTube, #AJB, #Josh. Have there been dogs at the Laundrie's house at all or around the neighborhood? I believe that dogs were there at
early on. I would imagine
early.
And that's a great question,
not recently.
too. Haven't seen him in the last 2.5 weeks. I think. But that's a great question. Maybe
But
even longer.
they did go to collect belongings for the scent for canines
Right,
to,
but not with the dogs.
but not, they didn't go to the house with the dogs themselves. They
Right.
collected belongings for the dogs. And then we'll end out here with Sonia on YouTube, hashtag AJB, hashtag AJosh. How did the parents know the exact location of his car in the reserve when the reserve is 25,000 acres? I'm from Australia, so I don't know the area. And really kind of the answer to this here, just about there's only so many places that you can park to go into the reserve here. And so the abandoned vehicle report was again at 6968 Reisterstown Road in Northport,
And that's
Florida.
a public parking lot,
It
as
is.
far as I understand.
Yep, and that's where the Ford Mustang belonging to Brian Laundrie was found. Folks, we got to get going here on WFLA Now. Josh, what are you going to be watching here in the hours ahead?
I just think the search, obviously interesting. That's the development today. We're focusing in on the response and how big the search is. It seems like it's a bit of an uptick today. There seems to be more resources out there, more agencies. So that could be a promising sign, but we'll continue to watch that. And I'll just be over on Twitter at twitter.com/WFLA Josh to give you any updates that I get in. And also with the vehicle report today, that was something new that we're starting to put some information out on. But other than that, it's pretty quiet. Haven't heard from the attorney today. I don't know if we'll be hearing from him today or not, but we will let you know.
And there's been a sort of a WFLA Now curse over the last week that the moment that we hop off stream, something happens. So we're going to end the stream, and then in all likelihood...
Well, good. It's a little early, so it gives us a little time if you have to jump back on.
We'll be right back on here live. If there's any new developments here in this case, we're back live here with you. We were live, of course, for those of you who are just joining us here in the last several minutes, we were live here at the beginning of the stream for Eagle 8 HD's flight over new police activity here, more police activity than we have seen in really a week at the Carlton Reserve there. They have a drone in the air. They split off into two separate groups of vehicles. It appeared to be unmarked vehicles as well as vehicles with Northport Police, and we reached out for confirmation. They said that it is an FBI-led search, and really when it's the FBI in charge, you're just not going to get much information.
Correct.
Folks, follow Josh Benson, everybody, on Twitter here, on Instagram, on Facebook. Just follow Josh everywhere. I think...
Just not personally. I don't need you following me like right behind me.
No, yeah.
Because that gets a bit creepy.
That's, yeah. You don't want to be looking over your shoulder literally at every moment. Folks, Josh Benson, catch him tonight, everybody,
Thanks,
on
JB.
WFLA.
We'll see you guys later.
News Channel 8. We're about to wrap up here, everybody, on WFLA Now. So where does this go from here? We're back here live with any additional developments here, folks. There could be updated information pertaining to what is going on here at the Carlton Reserve here. There's video that we have for you on WFLA.com, as well as the document about the abandoned vehicle. You can read it here for yourself. We've got more programming coming your way here on WFLA.com, the WFLA app here in the next hour or so. But want to let you know here that if anything develops, we're back here with you live across all platforms, so you can sign up for push alerts. Folks who've been asking how this exactly works, and some folks, let's remind our audience, some folks more social media savvy than others, some more technologically savvy than others. You can sign up for push alerts on YouTube, on Facebook, so that the moment that we go live, that you see the push alert on your phone or on your particular device, and you can join us for the live breaking news coverage. You can also, of course, subscribe to the WFLA app, where you can get push alerts there for you as well. But really, we want to let you know that we are constantly updating all of the articles, our article hub on Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. All of our articles, including these new developments, they live right now on WFLA.com and the WFLA app in written form. So if you want more from our award-winning team here, cranking out article content around the clock, the latest on Gabby Petito, the latest on Brian Laundrie, it's there for you on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. I'm staying here with you live, folks, in the next hour or so. We're going to be doing more programming here on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. We're, of course, monitoring other news stories here and other developments here in the Tampa Bay area here in Florida. But we are back live on stream with Gabby Petito, with Brian Laundrie, latest if there are developments here in this story. Read the latest right now on WFLA.com and the WFLA app.